Yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The most upright and able accolades that my colleague has just bestowed upon you stand with exception. But everything else he has said that is political, I would want to, if I had a chance, expunge it out of the order paper, no, out of the Hansard. The reason for that is that the issues that he was bringing on forth, as much as he was making an argument for his side, I will raise one or two things. But I think, on a serious note, Madam Speaker, this is a very good document. Once again, our Republic of Kenya, produces some of the best policy papers, some of the interventions on nearly everything. Madam Speaker, today, if you were to sit down and look whether we had an aeronautic engineer who is a space scientist, you would not find a Kenyan who works in NASA. We are always very good in what we do. But you see, when you come locally, Madam Speaker, and try and look for interventions on what we are supposed to do for our people, we don't move. This is what has been contradictory to my interpretation of our political standing as a people, as a leadership. If, Madam Speaker, you were to look at the report and go to paragraph 7, the conclusions are actually in the report. Number one, the report says there should be accessibility to voting. It's self-explanatory. Historically, if you look at the people with a disability or people who are able differently, you realize they're as good in performance as any of us. And yet, if you look at this House, for example, Madam Speaker, you see what our sister and the able senator from Mombasa, Asige, you look at Senator Kamau, you look at many of the people who have had these challenges, they actually perform well. They do an excellent job, they are knowledgeable, and they're people who deserve to be here. But then you see, Madam Speaker, when we start talking now on the nitty-gritty, accessibility to voting, do we even look at the polling stations, whether somebody with a disability will be given guidance? Do we even consider that some of these polling stations need a ramp so that if somebody is coming in with a wheelchair, they can actually have accessibility to that polling station? We don't. I remember I was in the National Assembly when there were, in fact, recommendations after the promulgation of the Constitution that we have now. And there was a suggestion that all buildings, including all facilities, privately owned and national government owned, should be opened up and provide the necessary infrastructure so that people with disability can be able to access those buildings. That hasn't been done. I believe that this House can engage itself so that we don't become a talk shop, Madam Speaker. The reason I raise this issue is because, number two, go to representation in government, whether it is the national government, whether it is the county government, and indeed, you notice that my brother, Honorable Cherargei, my brother and a man I highly respect, only talked about county governments. But even the national government has left a gap where deliberately look at the people who are appointed. They are all able people, and the reality is that it looks like nobody considers, or even if somebody was to consider this position, you would find that nobody would care to listen. The third issue they have raised is civic engagement. Of course, to a large extent, people with disability who have been deliberately and publicly engaging themselves and raising the issues and becoming activists. Many of them have been in these national organizations, civic society organizations, raising and putting out the information which needs to be received by people with disability so that then we can mitigate where they are. You come to the fourth issue, the legal policy frameworks. If you look at this policy framework, one of the things that I'm very advantaged, Madam Speaker, is that I sit at the Health Committee, and one of the things that we've been looking at is what are we going to do with, for example, children who have got disability and who have got incapacity because some of the diseases they have are diseases that are not easily managed by either their parents or even the county governments. And I'm happy that the Committee for Health is working on this, so that then we can begin to classify and handle our people when they have these challenges, especially our children. Madam Speaker, if you go down to the item number 6, which they have presented here, education and awareness, the truth is very many children who have disability, and this disability is not physical per se. There are children who have mental disability. There are children who have other disabilities which are now being investigated by science, and conclusions which previously had been misinterpreted are now being given a forward value. And the point we should be engaged ourselves is what happens with those children when we go to the schools. Because some of the buildings are actually 3, 4, 5 floors. And yet you'll find that from 3, they are placed on floor number 4, because the ground floor is where the administration block is. What do we do with those children with disability? Because my observation, Madam Speaker, is that some of these children, indeed, we are treating them as if we are punishing them. And that is why you have to allow somebody who's on a wheelchair or who's not able to walk, even if they walk with a stick. These young children or young men and women who go to our schools and universities and all the colleges, you find that we have not engaged ourselves to come with interventions and policies which are going to make it more bearable and more acceptable for them to survive within this environment under which we live in, where we feel that we are extremely secure and we are comfortable, and it doesn't matter where our people are going to be. The last one, Madam Speaker, is the issue of technology and innovation. I believe that when we are coming to look at this as a policy initiative, we have to look at the possibility of some of the cases of children and individuals who have got these disabilities, some of them which are mental, have been found that they are actually extremely intelligent. Some of them have become extremely good painters. Some of them are blessed and rewarded in a very unique manner. And Madam Speaker, I do believe that if you look at the issue of technology and innovation, that some of the innovations that are going to be introduced will end up and come a long way to help people with disability, and I believe this is a positive. Finally, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to mention and maybe just look at what my brother Cherargei talked about, how our leaders are now talking about themselves in an uncouth manner and basically exposing their ignorance and many other things. Madam Speaker, we know for sure that it is completely unfortunate that you can find leaders who are willing to body shame each other, how fat you are, how thin you look. Imagine, Madam Speaker, if this is the narrative that our leaders are bringing out, imagine if you were disabled and you were criticizing government and you started talking about either our bad behaviors of corruption, mismanagement of public resources, and you are a governor. Somebody will start talking about how your legs are looking funny. Somebody will say how your hands are spaced or they look in a certain manner. And I think we must begin to look at our country a bit differently. And this is what I've said, Madam Speaker, that our leadership must know that whatever we say has a direct impact on how the public understands who we are. Some of these things we are calling each other. Look at what is going to happen in schools now. Some of our children are going to find it's normal. You can pick a friend even if he disagrees with you and tells you not to do certain things because they're either against the law or they're things that you should not do. And if you are a person with disability or somebody who has got a challenge whereby you are not even able to walk, then that's the case where you're going to have some of the students who are going to come up and say, why is he criticizing and talking to us about things which are A, B, C, D, and yet this is how this person is. He's either blind or this person is. I mean, you can imagine, Madam Speaker, if my sister, the able Senator Sige, was to now start talking about the challenges that the government is having. Most likely, somebody is going to say some uncouth and untoward things about her. And yet, in reality, that's our job. Our job is to say, be given our ability to say, and let the government have its way. That is what this democracy thing is all about. But again, we always go back to our bad habits. When you've lost an argument, in Kenya, then you begin to throw epithets. Then you begin to talk about your leadership, how it is inept, or how the leadership. I mean, Madam Speaker, you were there. You saw how everybody in our republic went out and they were saying how Mzee Raila was the most incredible man who was really amazing, and he is a man who stood for democracy and he was fighting for all these things. And yet, Madam Speaker, the year before, how he was being called is a mganga. He's a guy who can't talk well. In fact, he has got mental problems. And so you understand the irony of where we are. But this is, Madam Speaker, a very good document. And I believe that if we can sit as a committee, and I hope that the Committee of Health and the other cross-cutting committees can sit down and we come up with policy of helping people who have got disabilities, children who are suffering from various ailments which are very difficult to even interpret to a normal doctor. It will be a very, very good document. I support, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will speak very briefly so that I can just give my colleagues opportunity to also make a comment. Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate the Honorable Senator Mbogwa and the team that went for this Commonwealth